Hi, welcome to In Stitches with Mary. In this video, what I would love to show you today is the fifth block in our Seam So Easy layer cake quilt along. Today I want to show you this block right here. This is called Mosaic number 11 and it's very easy to put together. Let me show you. So for Mosaic number 11, you're going to need to choose 4 colors or 4 squares from your layer cake. For the first one, I've labeled this as fabric A, and that's what you'll find in the directions is fabric A. And this is going to be a lighter color. Fabric A is actually the gray color in the block up here. We're going to cut all squares and then we're going to cut them diagonally a number of different ways. So we're going to need one large square that's 6 1/4 inches, and we're going to cut that diagonally twice. So we have 4 triangles. We're also going to need another square, and you're going to cut 4 of these at 3 3/8 inches, and we're only going to cut that diagonally once. So that's for fabric A. For fabric B, that's going to be what is red here, and I actually chose a kind of a red color that way as well. You're going to need 3 3 3/8 inch squares, and again, cut diagonally twice. Or I'm sorry, cut diagonally once. You're going to need the 6 1/4 inch square, and we're going to cut that diagonally 2 ways so that we have those 4 triangles again. Fabric C is our lighter color that I've placed on these outside points. Okay, we're going to cut 2 squares, 3 3/8 inches, and cut them diagonally once to get our 4 triangles. And then our last square, 1 square is what you need there, 4 3/8 inches, and that's going to be for our center here where I have the black. So that is where we're going to cut. The directions, which are available if you haven't received them yet, are very specific, and we'll show you exactly how to cut that out on each layer cake. So as you see with the lighter color here, our A, we're going to need 1 1/2 squares. With our red B fabric, we'll need 1 1/2 squares, and then you really only need 1/2 square for the last 2 fabrics, fabric C and D. Now, my directions will give you information on how to create both the 10 1/2 inch square and the 6 1/2 inch square. Those are what I call the baby squares, and they are right in here. And so that is still the fabric yardage, or the 2 squares are exactly what you'll need. 2 of this one, I'm sorry, 1 1/2 here, 1 1/2, 1/2 in here, and 1/2 here is enough to do both blocks. So let's see how this goes together. When I try to assemble a quilt block, I like to take all the pieces and put them in the arrangement as they will be sewn together. So as you can see here, I have the pieces that were cut. These measurements are for the 10 1/2 inch block. What I'm showing you here is the 6 1/2. I like to go ahead and get them placed out. So let's start. Here's our fabric A, the large square and the small square. And we'll just take the small squares, and you can see, you're going to have to look at the picture, but we're actually going to be sewing 4 blocks together. So if you think of it that way, we're going to do these half square triangle blocks, and then we're going to do what is called a 3-patch half square triangle block. And that's where our different larger blocks will come into play. So these here larger blocks are going to be on the outside edges. They're one of the last things we'll put in. All of these half square triangle blocks are going to be part of those half square triangle blocks, or the 3 patches. Same with the red half square triangle blocks. The lighter ones are really kind of the last things we're going to put on. They're going to be our cornerstones right here. And then here's our 2 darker ones that go in the center of that half square triangle. So as I was saying, when we sew this together, we're actually going to make this block right here, this half square triangle block, real simple. Sew your seams together, and that's why I like it right by my machine. I can just take this, I'm going to lay this here. I know I'm going to do that seam, and nothing gets mixed up because I don't have to get up and move to make sure what my next step is. So I've got that one made. We're going to do the same thing with these two half square triangle blocks here. All right, so 1, 2, and 3. The last two blocks are the 3 patch. So it's not a half square triangle where you see the 4 blocks. There's just 3. So we're going to sew these two together, and then we're going to put this one down. What I want you to be careful of in the directions is that these are mirror images of each other. So you do need to make sure you're sewing these together and this is going on in the correct way. I'll show you what that looks like on my next set here. Here we have the 5 blocks stitched together that I had previously mentioned before. Our half square triangle blocks are sewn together right here. Here is our 3 patch block here, and then of course our center block. The next thing we want to do now is to assemble this into a quilt block, and we're just going to make 3 segments that we'll sew together later on. We're going to add our larger triangles here to our 3 patch half square triangle block, placing right sides together, and we'll do the same thing here. Press those towards the triangle. There will be less seams to take care of that way when no seams are being pressed on top of each other. We'll do the same thing down here, and then we'll sew these together to create that X effect that we've got going on. So now we have our center seam. You'll have these 3 sewn together, press those towards the center. We're going to add our cornerstone triangles here. We have these sewn together. Add your cornerstone triangles here, and then we can sew these 3 segments together. When it is finished, it turns out beautifully. I love how this one turned out in these colors, and I'm anxious to see this one sewn together as well. But you can see here's our 3 patch triangle. Here's our 4 patch triangles, and then we've added our cornerstones and our side triangles. It is just really easy to put together. There's a number of steps, but fairly simple to put together. And again, this is Mosaic number 11. It is the 5th quilt block in the Seam So Easy quilt along. We will be showing 3 more, and that will complete our quilt, and I'll show you how to put that together when we finish with the other blocks. So for now, if you're interested, the patterns are available here at Neil's Vacuum and Sewing Center, downtown Muscatine, Iowa. Thank you for joining me.